Good Taste Edibles has something wild dropping soon, and you're going to want to be ready for it. They took their fan favorite Funfetti Crispy, you know the one that tastes like a party, and they leveled it all the way up. Coming soon, the Fruit Fetty 1000 milligram Mega Dosed Crispy. Same sweet, fruity, marshmallowy goodness, but now with a ridiculous 1000 milligrams of THC. This isn't background edible energy. This is main character energy. Perfect for high tolerance folks or sharing with the crew. Just don't say we didn't warn you. Keep your eyes peeled. Fruit Fetty Mega Crispies are dropping soon.
Welcome to Greenway Audio Magazine. I am Tim, and with me is Brandon. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, you were just telling me about a concert you went to last night. Who was the performer?
Me and my son went and saw Wiz Khalifa last night.
Yes. That's awesome. I just saw he has a big tour going.
So what's really interesting is like the venue he was in last night was a relatively small venue, Columbia, Missouri, Rose Music Hall. Not even the biggest venue in Columbia. But it was an outdoor show. It was great, super vibey, lots of people, everyone enjoying the vibes and having a good time. But he's going to be in Kansas City sometime this week, and then in July he's coming back to St. Louis and he's playing Riverport.
I kind of want to go.
So the opposite ends of the spectrum. But Parker noticed that the Kansas City date is on the sweatshirt he bought. The St. Louis date is not, because it cuts off in June. So he's like, Dad, if I go to the St. Louis show, then I can get two different hoodies. I'm like, great, buddy. But yeah, excellent show. Everybody there was having a great time. Met the general manager, and her name escapes me right now, but met the general manager of Columbia's Fresh Karma dispensary. Okay. She was fantastic. Lovely.
Did they have a presence there, or was she just hanging?
She was just hanging.
Nice.
Saw several people from the industry. Saw a lot of industry swag. Shout out to Head Change. Saw like 4 or 5 Head Change shirts. Yeah. Wild. Saw a couple Wild shirts. Saw some new Thera gear. Saw a couple Suede and Sense hats out in the crowd at different points.
Those are slick.
And I think there was a couple Sundro, the rainbow circle logo. Saw a little bit of that. So yeah, probably like 30 to 50 pieces of swag throughout the night, just representing Missouri cannabis industry proper. Saw a handful of proper hats and t-shirts and stuff.
They have such a good line of merch, man. I mean, Proper is one of the stores that I go to on the regular, and they have like, it's almost like a merch room up front of all of their cool branded shirts and hats and everything. It's pretty iconic now in the cannabis industry in Missouri.
We've talked a lot about some of the people that have the best, swag and stuff like that. Proper coming in was, one of the ones with, really the best gear and stuff early on. Yeah. I gotta say, we've talked to John Milo, and we've talked about what Vibe does as far as their like limited edition and their drops and stuff like that. But just as far as the wearables, New Thera. New Thera's wearables, the hoodies for like Panda and New Thera. They've got the one hoodie with the like super thick like sailor rope for the the cords. Yeah. They've got some hoodies that have like the drip design from and then they've got the Panda hoodie. Like New Thera's really got amazing like wearables.
Good to know.
So
New Thera.
Yeah. So shout out to Wiz Khalifa and Taylor Gang. Great show. Appreciate it. Good time. I probably was just around more cannabis in an open space that than I've been around before.
That's saying a lot.
And
It's crazy.
what's crazy is like we're around it all the time.
Right.
I came home and my beard after
I was gonna say
showered,
your beard has to be. You had to wash that 2-3 times, dude.
it still smells like it. So just everything. Parker kept going. It smells like really good weed and it smells like really bad weed. And I was like, you're right. And we're going to discuss how you know that later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
Had a couple people try and pass joints and blunts to my 15-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Were you like,
and the thing is, he was like, "Oh no, thank you," but like I catch it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, absolutely not. No, shut it down. But no, he's a good kid, and like he was just trying to vibe and have a good time and stuff. And he was always like super good about it. He's like, oh no, thank you, I don't.
Yeah.
And they're like, good. Okay. I will say one of my favorite things about going to, concerts or any kind of event where there's a lot of people and that consumption is allowed and stuff is I like to load up my little fanny pack, my dad bag, as I call it, with pre-rolls and, pre-rolled flour and stuff like that. Differentiating between pre-rolls that are manufactured and pre-rolls that I've already manufactured. But load up my little fanny pack, throw it across my neck or my chest, and go out. And especially in places where there's wristbands, I don't even have to ask because you got a wristband. You're obviously 21. So then I can just politely offer you a joint or a blunt or what have you. And it's so fun seeing people like look at you and it's one thing to like pass them one that's already lit, but to just walk up to somebody and be like, here, would you like this? Which generally I would frown upon, like telling my kids, like, don't take weed from strangers and shit like that. But I know my shit's safe. I know where it comes from, so I feel like at least if the youths are taking their weed from the creepy old guy that looks like the Sons of Anarchy cast off, then at least I know they're getting safe weed. It's not laced with anything if they're taking it from me.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, dude, I love being Doug Hall is the one that coined the phrase weed Santa. And you just walk around with a bag full of joints or weed or vapes or whatever you happen to have and just give it out to everybody and have a great time. Guerrilla marketing at its finest is handing someone a blunt or a pre-roll and saying, hey, this is from this company. If you enjoy it, like, check them out. And I always try and make sure I know what's from where and what I have. I have them kind of sectioned off and stuff.
Yeah. Just giving gifts.
Shout out to Dealer's Choice. They have the 14-gram party pack for like $99. And that is a really fun way to just load up on a bunch of pre-rolls to share with people. It's 14 or 15 1-gram pre-rolls. It's like $99. So you get a half an ounce pre-rolled for like $99. Also, our friends out at Agrigenesis Sunrise Dispensaries, I was out there this past week, picked up the Flower Power gummies.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, they're delicious.
Really?
I was so excited because they taste like nostalgia candy. The cherry flavor tastes, it's a different consistency, but the cherry flavor tastes almost like those sour cherry bombs. You remember, kind of hard on the outside but chewy on the inside. Different consistency but same taste. And my favorite part was cracking open the packaging of the high dose. So they have their low dose, which just comes in like a Mylar bag. The high dose is a great looking 10, super sharp. Crack it open and it's a plastic tray with a plastic knife on top because they're 50 milligrams a piece. And so the knife is for you to be able to segment it however you want. I love that idea.
That's a great
Miles
idea.
McCurdy and the crew at Agrigenesis. Shout out
Miles.
for another great move.
Yeah.
But yeah, loved the flower power gummies. Got some really good flower and stuff while I was out there. Was excited about that. Speaking of some of the things that we like, I think you've got a new segment for us.
You know, Brandon, we've been talking about getting some good segments on here. We have What's in Your Rotation, which I absolutely love and people love. But I had this thing that I did back in the day when I was in high school. I wrote for this paper called the University Reporter. It went to all the colleges like in Missouri, and it had a column called Pickett Picks It. And I would like talk about new CDs that came out and everything. And I was still in high school. I think my second interview was with Marilyn Manson at Mississippi Nights when I was 18. What an amazing adventure that was. Let me just
What a
tell
name
you.
drop.
I mean, hey, it happened.
Another
I
guy
left
accused of sexual
my
assault.
all boys Catholic school to go talk to Marilyn Manson downtown. And as I was waiting for him, he didn't want to talk to me until he had his bowl of Fruit Loops. That was a first for me. I'm not even kidding. Okay, so anyway, I thought we'd bring back something. I bring back Pickett Picks It into the fold. So I have chosen 5 very cool things that have happened in the past week that I'm super excited about. Some involving the industry, some not involving the industry, more of life in general. So number 1, dreams coming true.
Numero uno.
Yeah. I've been dreaming of working for a company and having a role that fit my personality and what I love. And it happened, Brandon. I wasn't even really looking, but I saw an opportunity and I jumped at it and I went all in and I friggin' got it. So as of right now, I will be the director of brand and trade marketing at Curio Wellness.
Hey, shout out.
Thank you, buddy. I am so freaking happy. I cannot explain it. I love that company. I've always put them on a pedestal, and now I get to go in there and do some creative stuff and still do this podcast. I was like, yeah, what about the podcast? And they go, oh, no, keep doing it. That's awesome. It's good for the industry. It's great. And I was like, hell yeah. I mean, dude, so we get to keep doing this, buddy.
We get to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Love the fact that you're with Curio, because I feel like those we've talked before, the synergy of people and company, if you have the same mentality, it makes it a lot more enjoyable ride. It would probably, as much as we love Corey and Peter and the whole team at Head Change, it would probably be tough for you to be,
Yes.
Ireland and being out there trying to do what she does.
Right.
Curio is, I think, a great fit for you.
Thank you. I agree.
And I love I love a lot of the team over there. We've talked to Wendy, we've talked to Rebecca, we've I've had conversations with Mark, and then on the ground they've got Taylor, and they've just had a great team, and so I'm super excited to see what you do. Hope you saturate the state of Missouri with your presence and your beautiful baby blues all over. Out there. Oh, we got to get t-shirts made. It says Curio on the front and Silver Fox Tour 2025 on the back, and just every pop-up or event that you go to is listed on it. Silver Fox Tour 2025.
You. So I'm
Number
super
2.
excited about that. Number 2.
Numero
collaboration.
uno. Oh no,
collaboration
that's
in the industry.
Dos. Sorry.
Yeah, it does.
That's numero dos. Numero uno.
Collaboration in the industry. The last few podcasts we've had guests talk about other companies and their appreciation of other companies and wanting to work with other companies and currently working with other companies. Vibe Smokies, timeless and anything cool. Camp and cookies. Like there's so many. I just love seeing it. And, we get to talk to a lot of people in the industry, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of like vitriol or backstabbing or shit talking and that kind of stuff. I'm sure there is, but I don't see it as much. I see more collaboration, and that, I don't know, that I feel like that sets this market apart from others, just from what I've been hearing and reading about other markets. So that has me jazzed. Game recognizes game, what happened?
Oh no, I was doing jazz hands when you said jazzed, and then you said game recognizes game, and the jazz hands went away very quickly.
Oh right, yeah, sorry.
They were like, oh, he just did the bring it
just
on
missed
thing.
The party.
he just did the bring it on thing. He tried to be a suburban white girl talking about toros in the atmosphere.
Those movies were on all weekend. My wife and my daughter went on a bender of Mean Girls, all of those. So I kept hearing stuff all weekend. Bring it on.
Shout out. Mean Girls is an all time.
Yeah. So I kept hearing phrases, and I was like, I'm gonna remember that one. Maybe people think I'm cool. Number 3, lists. I love lists. And you know what I found last night? This is how, feel free to laugh. I make lists every year of my favorite albums. And I found this, and it's called Pickett Picks It 1999.
1999. Hang on. You've flashed it a couple times. My glasses are on, but I have not been able to read it. Can I guess a couple albums off of this?
Yeah. Okay. 99.
99. Corn Freak on a Leash.
Corn Issues. Yep.
Okay. Oh, Issues. Freak on a Leash would have been the one before that. My bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't called Freak on a Leash either. It was called Follow the
But that was
Leader.
the song.
My bad. 99. Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit. No. That was 2000.
That would have been 98.
I found my 2000 list.
That would have been 98 and 2000. Okay, 99 was the album that had Schism on it. Was that 99 from Tool?
No, that was 2000.
Golly, 98 through 2000 is a blur for me.
Yeah, I know. A lot of good stuff happened.
I'm gonna take one more shot on 99. Pantera,
no. I don't think they had one then.
Cowboys from Hell was it?
Cowboys from Hell was probably 93.
No, not Cowboys from Hell. I was thinking of the side project.
Down?
Yes.
Super Joint Ritual.
Joint Ritual is what I was thinking of, but that's also like 2002, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Why don't you just tell us, Tim?
Oh, no, I mean, nothing, we don't have to go.
Oh, no, I really do want to hear them.
Okay. Spain. There's a band called Spain that I freaking love. She Haunts My Dream. Lit, A Place in the Sun.
Nice.
Face to Face, Ignorance is Bliss. 9 Inch Nails, The Fragile. Friggin' Jimmy Eat World, Clarity. I mean, you can't deny that.
Was a
record.
really good album.
Seriously. Sunny Day Real Estate Live, Incubus Make Yourself, Filter, Title of Record, Low, Secret Name. Yeah, so that kind of stuff. And then Verbena, Into the Pink, freaking love those guys. And then I have an Almost Made It. This is
also, hang on one second. I'd like to point out, you just mentioned one of a band that I really, really like. I wouldn't say favorite, but a band that I absolutely love that I think is so vastly underrated, especially for what they are and what they do. The White Stripes got a lot of attention for pretending to do the same thing that this band did. You mentioned Low.
Dude, my second favorite band of all time. I worship them. Oh my gosh.
you and I have such drastically different
know.
music tastes, because your favorite band of all time is
I know.
Tool. And Low and Tool are very like similar in that like weird vibe, but for some
Yeah.
reason I love Low, and I'm not a big Tool guy.
I know. That's okay.
I think
That's okay.
I think we discussed that in a previous episode.
Yeah, I'm sure. So lists. Number 4, Honeybee Blood Orange Strawberry 15 milligram gummies.
Okay.
So good.
Loving the blood orange.
Number 5, music text threads. Dude. I kind of, you and me have kind of been doing it for a little bit. I had one with Tammy Pooyer for a little bit, Chris LeGrand, but nothing like official. You and I and a few other people in this industry have a music text thread. It is the highlight of my week.
It's a really good
There is
thread.
nothing better than sharing good music. I mean, when you listen to a good song, don't you immediately want to send it to somebody?
I do. And that's the whole reason that I started. It was like, I felt like if I had that vibe, then I could discover so much more music if other people were in on it with me. And I will say that the people in that thread have exposed me to so much so quickly. It's only been going on for a couple months, but it's brought so much so quickly. And there's the kind of punk rock side.
Yeah.
There's the metal side, and then everybody kind of interflows in between.
Yeah,
and then there's the dude that sends you guys like 70s porn music at 8:00 in the morning on a Tuesday.
I love it. It seriously, it is. If you're listening right now and you don't have a text thread with some people sharing music, start one. It is the coolest freaking thing. Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
Text Tim and he'll start a new one with you and me and Tim. Just text him.
Speaking of somebody that I text new music to, we have a guest today.
Who is our guest?
Chris LeGrand, Director of Operations and Compliance for Camp Cannabis.
Hey, I know that company and that name.
Yeah, you do. Do you want to bring him in?
I think first we should go to our friend Tim.
I was waiting for you to do that. All right, Tim, let's hear it. Blue Sage is now open in Belton, their first dispensary in the Kansas City area and 5th overall in Missouri. Located at 17015 Belray Boulevard, Blue Sage Belton brings their signature deli-style experience to KC with the widest selection of Vivid flower and first access to the latest drops. You've seen them in St. Louis. You've seen them in Lebanon, Carthage, Valley Park. Now it's time to come see your buds in Belton. Hey, we talk about the good stuff, they sell the good stuff. It's a perfect match. Browse the menu and daily deals at cannabisdeli.com. See you in Belton. Welcome back to Greenway Audio Magazine. I am with my buddy and amazing guest, Chris LeGrand, the Director of Operations and Compliance at Camp Cannabis. Chris, welcome, buddy.
Thanks so much, Tim. Really appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to chopping it up with both you and Brandon. Massive respect for both of you guys. Just want to start with that, not to derail too much. But Brandon, I've been following you, been following Greenway since my entrance to the industry, when I thought, how the hell am I going to transition from being a public school teacher into cannabis? How is this going to work? And, Greenway and seeing your professionalism and your objectivity and covering the industry goings on was, fundamental and inspirational for me in entering the business, entering the industry. So really great to be on here and to chat with you. Thank you so much. And Tim, just the same. Great friend of mine. I have massive respect for your marketing ability. Was very impressed before you entered the cannabis space, and was super excited when you did. And I look forward to, seeing longevity in the space with both of you. So Thanks for
Damn.
the opportunity, guys. Thank you for chatting.
Well, I don't take compliments well, and that made me very uncomfortable. So we're enemies now. We're enemies now.
Dude, Chris, thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful
awesome.
and wonderful and very much appreciated. It was way too much for me. Tim deserves all the accolades for everything ever. If only just because he's, look at that face.
There we go.
That's how you get to be the face of an industry, is by having a face like that.
What industry?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. My wife is eternally jealous of our friendship, and those physical attributes are part of it. She's afraid I'm going to run away from her and run off with Tim. So,
I mean, to be fair, every time I look at him, I hear Natalie Imbruglia play in the background.
Stop it.
Natalie Imbruglia is very white for me. So
yes.
I'm just like, nothing's right. I'm torn. I'm all out of.
Stop.
I think we only get a few seconds, so I won't go. First thing I wanted to do with you here, Chris, is say thank you to you. You've been a driving force and an educational resource and just a valuable commodity as a person for people in the industry for a handful of years now. Love to see you land where you're at with Camp, and a company that has changed and evolved and grown and kept an ethos of community and medicinal focus at its front. And I'm a big fan of compliance. That's one of the main reasons Greenway exists, is because of rulemaking and compliance and following rules and trying to keep operators abreast of the newest things and the newest goings-ons and things like that. Because in an industry that we've seen nationally, that is constantly on unsteady footing. Things change so quickly, and they're different from state to state to state to state. And then you have federal rules and things like that involved as well. Compliance really is the backbone of this industry. And I think we see that time and time again. If you don't have a solid foundation or at least a very solid understanding, because there are some people that operate perhaps in the wings of the shadows. They may put their toe over the line of compliance and strict rule interpretation, but they do it with knowledge, because they have someone like you that can say, hey, here's the line. This is how far we can kind of push it before we're jeopardizing ourselves, our investors, our employees, and things like that. And I think we've seen in other states, especially, that if you don't have someone in the room that goes, hey, I'm all for all these different ideas, guys, but this is where we can't go any further, that it winds up costing people their jobs. It winds up costing companies their licenses. It winds up costing investors their money. And so, as someone who is actively participating and educating other people about compliance and the industry, I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Much appreciated, Brandon. And compliance nerds, we've got to stick together, right? So that's generally I categorize myself as the nerd with the clipboard that all of the team members run away from whenever I come, because I'm probably going to make their job a little bit harder by more conservatively adhering to the rules and regs. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and yes, it's certainly the backbone of the industry. And as most of us understand, it's not always very clear. It's not always black and white. There can be ambiguity and interpretation in the rules and regs. So oftentimes, and then, if there is some ambiguity in interpretation, you can, reach out to a compliance officer and be told X, and then another licensee reaches out to another compliance officer and they're told Y. And so,
Whoa, does that happen? Has that happened before here in Missouri?
Mind blown. About as often as the rules and regs have changed.
Oh, so it's only happened twice, because officially the rules and regulations have only changed twice.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole process you have to go through for that in order to make new rules or regulations. You couldn't just like issue a guidance memo or anything. That
sure. Yeah, and it's a lot of times you're looking at the rules and you're looking at operations and you're gauging, taking that ambiguity into account. You're gauging the level of risk and trying to assign some sort of probability, and you're talking to your CEO or your leadership team and you're saying, hey, this particular rule is a little vague, it's a little ambiguous, but if we were to move forward with a more liberal interpretation, what would that risk, what would that consequence be? So oftentimes it's not even just reading the rules, it's an evaluation process of trying to interpret the rules and mitigate risk. I don't want to speak for all operators, but at camp, compliance is extremely important to us. It's at the forefront. We are not. We are a non-corporate, non-vertical, non-MSO group, one of the few left in Missouri. We're smaller scale, we're craft, and we, given our resources, we can't take a lot of risks with compliance. So we want to be conservative, and that's what we try to do. And whether it's, when we are reading these things, reading these rules and regs, and there is ambiguity, I don't just like to reach out to the state compliance officer. I like to talk to other compliance licensees and see what their take is on it. And so I think it's important as well to kind of have that collaborative, open dialogue. And there have been a few groups that I've been fortunate enough to have that with. So, just kind of a long response to your prompt there, but totally agree with you about compliance, and thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate that.
It's so interesting that your last point was about reaching out to other groups, because one of the things Tim was literally just talking about that he enjoys so much about the Missouri space is the collaborative spirit that we see from operation to operation, and whether that's collaborating on products or the things that people in the public don't see, like you being able to reach out to someone in another operation. I know Gabe Jetterberg from Good Day Farm is really receptive to speaking to people about different issues, and we've just had a really good community spirit as far as compliance goes, especially because of interpretation and the fact that you do sometimes get different answers from the western side of the state versus the eastern side of the state versus the southwest or in between. And I think that has fostered a community spirit of, let's find a common ground and go to DCR together, because it's not cool that we're not hearing the same thing over and over and over. So I just wanted to drop that Tim had literally just brought up the collaborative spirit and the cooperation between operations, and here we are talking about compliance being one of those. Look at us now.
Look at it. Chris, I am still, I think when I think about you being a high school teacher, it still blows my mind. Like, can you get into, was that what you wanted to do with your life? And how did you make the transition from teaching into, legalization efforts and then eventually into compliance?
See how far I can meander from these questions before returning to the core here. But no, I appreciate those questions. And I understand that folks are very curious about that particular transitional journey, and it's interesting when I reflect upon it. It was interesting, when I first discussed it with my wife and with my mother, and now. And I taught high school and middle school, by the way, and I used to also work with elementary grades for special school districts. So it's been the whole gamut, nearly about 20 years in education. And at this point now, I always told middle school and high school students, once, you turn 18 and you graduate, get on social media if you want. You can friend me. We can, chat as, you're growing into an adult and whatnot. And at this point, it's very interesting because over the years, students are still like friending me through social media or connecting with me through social media. And they're always very interested to see what I post and how much is cannabis related. And some of them will say things like, I knew it. And I'm like, but what does that mean? So
Right.
that's, it's kind of an interesting byproduct of it all. But to get back to your question, in my mind, education, just generally speaking, in any way, no matter the level, is the most important function of any society. It always starts with education. If you have a more knowledgeable populace, you're going to be more effective. You're going to have fewer big problems. You're going to be able to tackle big problems and devise solutions for them. So teaching was always something I was very interested in. Not immediately when I started undergrad did I major in education and have those plans, but I did minor in it and start taking classes in it in addition to my psych major at that time, and trying to figure out kind of what I would do post grad. So that interest was there when I came into undergrad, and I started working for special school district part-time, the last 2 years of undergrad. So the interest was there. I was also inspired by my wife, Jamie LeGrand. She's a much better teacher than I ever was. She's about 20 years in. And so she was very inspirational and factored in to my decision to teach. And so, yeah, I'm, started teaching high school in 2008, moved on to middle school in 2014. And during that time, all the way back to 2012, I had been involved as a volunteer for the legalization effort. I'm going to name drop a few during this podcast, and one big one I want to name drop is literally my best friend since first grade, John Payne. So John Payne is probably the most ubiquitously known individual in the cannabis space in Missouri. He has been involved with legalization all the way back to 2012. That's when the first recreational movement actually started. He was running that campaign, and I was volunteering for him. Did I think we had a chance in hell of winning? No. You've got to understand we're in a conservative state. This was before even legalization recreationally in more liberal states. At this time, you had medical in California came in '96. You had some other medical states, mostly very restrictive. So it was a long shot for Missouri. But my inspiration and understanding that we could legalize cannabis in Missouri always came from John. He sort of had the audacity to say, hey, federal government, state governments, you're wrong about this. And he even planted the seed that, it's not about drug use. This is a human rights issue. And when he used that phrasing to me, and seeing him believe that we could make that kind of change in Missouri, that inspired me. And so I kind of went along teaching while he was working through these various campaigns. 2012 was unsuccessful. Medical 2016. By that point, I had a lot more faith in the success of actually coming through with medical legalization in Missouri. And we should have actually got it. It was a hard fought battle at the end. John ended up having to testify in court. It was a dispute over signature gathering. And as you all may know, signature gathering to put a ballot initiative for Missourians, it's a tedious process, and like compliance, if everything's not done correctly, signatures can be invalidated, and there's interpretation about those things as well. So hard fought campaign in 2016, but it was lost. Then we had medical in 2018, jumped on the volunteer bandwagon again, and we were successful that time, which was incredibly exciting. And so I taught mainly ELA, mainly English, writing, reading, all of those general skills in middle school and high school. Taught social studies as well, but ELA was a huge focus for me at middle school. And when the campaign was won, people started contacting John about writing facility applications, to get awarded a licensed facility. And so that was starting in 2019. And he approached me. He said, "I know you're passionate about this. I know you're a good technical writer. A lot of your, teaching skills can transfer to this." And at first, I kind of balked at that. And then the more I thought about it, it is interesting that there's a general skill set with teachers that is very consistent with both application writing and just general compliance, whether it's technical writing, document organization, document collection, etc. So a lot of consistency there. And I thought, okay, yeah, let me try this. At that point, Amendment 2 Consultants became a partnership business, and we set forth with writing applications in the summer of 2019. As many of us know, it was the odds were against you in winning applications. There were thousands of applicants and only hundreds picked. The way in which the applications were scored, there are lots of words that people have used to describe it. I will say it is not consistent with how I would create and use a rubric with evaluating a student's work. There wasn't objective consistency across the board. I can say that, from my perspective of that process. But A2C did win a number of applications, mostly dispensaries, some cultivation and manufacturing, and the business really got going. At that point, licenses were or applications were put in for these licenses in summer of 2019, but there was going to be time before the licenses were awarded. So John and I talked, and I said, yeah, I think I'm going to go back to teaching next year as these licenses get awarded. And then, we'll go from there. If things really start accelerating, I may resign teaching in the middle of the year. I may not. I may resign at the end of the school year. I may not. Things were just kind of up in the air at that point. And then 2020 happened. At first, we were moving forward with working on the rec campaign in 2020. We had gathered thousands of signatures, and then, and I was still doing this on a volunteer basis while teaching. And then the pandemic happened. We went to the state and we said, look, is there a way we can collect signatures digitally? Is there a way to do this online? And they said no. We were following a law that was set up in the 19th century. There was no way to change that. And so we had to invalidate all of those signatures, and the campaign just stopped for adult use in Missouri in 2020. But with the pandemic happening, everything being thrown into disarray, teachers were being dismissed. I was essentially working from home and kind of doing a crude version of online teaching, because everyone was just all of a sudden, okay, now we've got to teach these kids online and figure out how to do this the rest of the year. So there, I was able to do that, teach online, and then increase working at A2C and Amendment 2 as that business was taking off and licenses were getting awarded. And so I resigned at the end of the year. We've got a little more clarity in the pandemic. Things have shut down. Things started opening up more over the summer. And I joined Amendment 2 full time as a full partner, kind of post pandemic that summer. So that's kind of, that's the nuts and bolts of, getting going from teaching to legalization and A2C. But I do, also want to mention, and John and I's friendship going back, so far. I mean, there were many moments, when we were adolescents and when we were in college and we're kind of, dreaming out loud about legalizing cannabis in Missouri. And like I said, he always had the audacity and gave me the inspiration for doing that. In fact, both of us wrote our freshman econ papers at Wash U on legalizing all drug use, ending the drug war. Both of us wrote those papers. We didn't have discussions about it. We just both chose those topics, and
Wow.
both of us did really well on them. I think John probably got a higher grade than I did because he's a much better writer. But so that passion goes, the passion for the plant, the passion for legalization, the passion to, get people out of any sort of judicial entanglement for cannabis use or cannabis sale. That has been going back, for a long way. And I'll kind of also end it with, I don't want to sound too negative, too sad here. But my only brother did pass away, addiction related issues. We think, and, conversations that he and I used to always have was, he would say, if I could, if I could just use cannabis and not get in trouble for it, I wouldn't need all of this other stuff. Because what happens when you're in active addiction and you start getting entangled with the law, you generally get put on probation. You get put on some kind of ordered supervision, and you get drug tested. And as we all know, cannabis generally sticks in the fat cells. It stays in the body for over 30 days, while other drugs get out very quickly. So it's almost like cannabis is the one you can't, the drug you can't use when you're on probation, but heavier addictive drugs you can. And so that, that occurrence with my brother also factored in as well. So a lot of years, a lot of reflection on this journey, and that kind of, propelled the transition.
Wow.
So hopefully I didn't meander too far there, Tim.
No, that's exactly what we were looking for. So now you're at camp, and how does their philosophy, meld with, your mindset when it comes to cannabis?
Yeah, great question. Very, very consistent. At camp, at the leadership level, and all the way down. Everyone's passionate about cannabis, passionate about its ability to enhance people's lives, whether it's for a medicinal application, or, I mean, I don't even like to use the word recreational, but it enhances lives in a medical context or outside of a medical context. And we're all very aligned that way. Brandon used the word ethos earlier. That's certainly our ethos, my ethos in camps as well. And so, yeah, there was strong alignment there. And on kind of a more practical level, I mean, when I was at A2C, I was already working with Camp. Camp was a client of ours. We were managing their social media accounts. We were writing press releases for them. We were writing their investor newsletter. But I know Brandon and I interacted in a few different ways on that particular part of my journey with Camp and with A2C. So again, that's bringing it back to Brandon and why I'm so happy to be here, man. At that time, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to just chat with this guy about non-work stuff. And so, but anyway, so camp, very aligned. And I knew that when Camp was a client of mine at A2C, and I knew that if I was to ever leave A2C, it would be for a group like Camp, and not, a group that was different in a number of ways. Not not just the ethos. I was always also interested in joining a group that wasn't an MSO, that didn't have a huge corporate structure. Wanted to join a smaller group that could focus more on craft, the patient, and the consumer. Point blank, Jennifer McGuire, the COO and one of the original founders of Camp, she just, I connected with her immediately and understood how, authentic she was, understood how caring she was, nurturing, just in general, and also her passion for cannabis. And so, it was kind of a no-brainer when she reached out to me. I was already kind of doing compliance work in addition to that marketing work for Camp. I started working on their renewals and a couple other things. So when she asked me to come and work compliance full time, even though it was immediately right after the campaign, like 8 days later after the 2022 campaign, I joined Camp. I should have taken like 6 months off, but it is what it is, and I couldn't pass on the opportunity. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into Camp. So, Camp has flower, pre-rolls, vape carts, concentrates, and we got some things dropping here soon. Maybe some gummies, maybe some disposable vapes. Like, let's get into the product launches for 2025.
For sure.
So it's not a summer camp.
It's not, which I originally thought, Brandon, years ago.
We do refer to the facility, the shop, as the campground. So,
Okay, that makes
definitely has some summer camp vibes to it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We have released all of those products that you mentioned, Tim. We're about to do a soft launch on gummies, harder launch on disposables. We are starting to send out our first all-in-one or disposable orders. So we're very excited about that. We understand the impact on younger demographics, and my only opposition to the disposables is obviously the environmental impact. And so I want to just give a quick shout out to Monarch Waste Management. They're partnering with Curador, working on this great disposable initiative, and we would like to increase our collaboration with that. I just emailed Monarch the other day, talked with them about what's the best way to dispose of these things. We don't have a dispensary, so people aren't bringing disposables back to us or anything like that, but we will have some that will be spent during the R&D process and those sorts of things that we want to make sure we're properly disposing of and not having a negative impact on the environment. So very excited about those. We're also we're doing in the R&D phase now. We're looking to release distillate infused pre-rolls. We're looking at a 1 gram and a 5-pack of half grams. We're kind of starting with infused that way. We will start branching out into other types of infused products after that, both in the gummies and probably with pre-rolls as well. So we're excited about that. We've gotten some new equipment installed in the facility to facilitate efficient and high numbers production of pre-rolls, distillate infused pre-rolls and non-infused. So we're excited about that too, to scale up a bit. We're going to be doing the same with adding some distillation equipment so we can scale up our distillation. We can produce more vape carts, more all-in-ones, and more gummies with that as well. So yeah, we've got some of those new products that are on the horizon. We've also in 2025 just been releasing a number of new genetics. We've kind of doubled our genetic library. We're over 40 different genetics right now. We also have a partnership with Cookies on some of their genetics too. We're not dedicating a lot of our canopy space to Cookies. We're not even dedicating a majority of it, generally about a third or less. We wanted to bring in some of those different genetics as well. we have released those too, about 20 different cookies genetics and about, like I said, 40 camp total and 20 new ones for camp. So we've been just kind of slowly releasing those the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. We launched pre-rolls, just camp brand right now. Those have been doing very well, especially, you know, when we have new genetics that we're releasing both in pre-roll and flower, or, you know, we release it in pre-roll first and get people excited that way and then do the flower. So we're kind of, experimenting with some different ways to do that. We'll be partnering with cookies on some pre-rolls as well. So yeah, new product lines, new genetics, and we're excited about these things. As I mentioned before, you know, we're a smaller operator. We don't have the entire 30,000 square foot of canopy space. You know, we don't have a large financial war chest to draw from in multiple states. So, you know, we're not as big to scale as we would like to be. We are working on gradually increasing that. So it's exciting to release new genetics, release new products, and do some changes at the facility so we can increase scales as well. In fact, I'm working on collecting documentation to submit to the state to change a use of space so we can open another processing room. So, we've got a lot going on right now, and it's very, very exciting.
So I think what I heard you say is Reed Porter is not allowed to sleep.
That's right.
Just not allowed.
No, that poor guy is just constantly, you know, shuffling around genetics, seeing what's going to work well in which flower room, and keeping an eye on sales and inventory as well. You know, we've got to always, I should say Reed has always got to strike that balance of, you know, we want genetics that we like as passionate consumers, but at the same time, on a commercial level, we also need to see genetics that are going to have high yield, that are going to be able to produce, you know, X amount of grams per square foot. So we want to strike that balance. We want to have the stuff that may not be as high a yielder, but it's got a great configuration of terpenes, and we love it, and we know consumers love it. And then also have, you know, some that are still great genetics, but they're just huge yielders, may not be as exciting with the terpene configuration, but still good genetics. And yeah, Reed's fantastic about striking that balance. And I'm glad that you brought up Reed, Brandon, because I did want to take an opportunity to talk about the camp team, if that's okay with you guys.
Please.
Okay. Get some coffee in me so I can brag for the next hour. So, you know, I don't hear leadership, C-suite leadership, director level leadership talking enough about the management teams that are making everything go on a daily basis. And so, yeah, I just really want to take an opportunity to discuss that. You mentioned Reed. Reed is a fantastic cultivator. He's our director of cultivation. He's got a lot of experience out of Arizona, has a lot of experience growing plants indoors, outdoors, cannabis, non-cannabis. He's an expert on organic pesticides and IPM, integrated pest management. So he does a great job of managing those two realms within cultivation. As we all know, you know, growing great genetics and taking them to the consumer is just one aspect of being a cultivator. Such a huge part of it is preventing contamination, making sure the facility is clean, making sure the rooms and the people working in them are clean, and then lessening an environmental impact, and also ensuring that, you know, we're not applying any pesticides that, you know, could cause consumers problems or could be non-compliant with the state's rules and regs. So Reed is fantastic at all of those things, and I'm, you know, truly fortunate to be able to work with him and learn from him. We also have Dylan Tampow. Dylan is our lab director. He used to be with Coco. Brandon, you probably remember Coco, and Dylan ran their lab. He was the first to bring RSO to the Missouri market. It was a huge passion of his. Camp is actually looking into getting back into, not back into, but getting Dylan back into producing RSO. We want to bring that back to the market. We feel that, it's been largely ignored in recent years, and Dylan was very passionate about that and made that happen at Coco. Dylan is, I like to say, he is a lab genius. Dylan can make about any product in the lab. He pays attention to compliance. He works with me on it. He understands metric very well. And it's an absolute pleasure to have him. He has a team of about 5 people that he leads well here at camp, as he did at Coco. Dylan also, received a education in agricultural science and hemp extraction, and so he does have a very consistent educational background. So we've got those folks. We've got great other managers as well. We have Morgan Hughes, who is our fertigation manager, Tony Costa, who's our IPM manager. Both of these guys have experience in their respective fields in this state and other states. I have a fantastic post-harvest team. I've got Lionel Macklin as my post-harvest manager, and Raven McFerrin as my inventory manager. Again, these are kind of unsung heroes in the industry. I don't hear enough about inventory managers, about post-harvest managers, about cultivation managers. And I couldn't do my job effectively without my post-harvest team, without Linnell, without Raven. They're fantastic managers. So all around, like I said, I could go on about other managers in the organization. We do have a fantastic marketing team, Dara Heward and Nikila. We also have a fantastic sales team with Tucker Council and Connor Shreve, who have experience in sales. Tucker worked his way up in Colorado, has about 10 or 11 years of experience there. He started as a bud tender, and now he's an excellent sales director, and he's actually director of both sales and marketing. So his hands are full, and he sleeps very little, just like Reed. Just fantastic, and so happy to have them. So having all of these people contribute to camp is the only way that we are successful, and I wanted to make sure and highlight them. And again, I could highlight more, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, so we've talked about you as a person. We've talked about camp, talked about the amazing team at camp that's shaping the direction of where they're going. Let's get into the good stuff that we've been waiting for, Chris. The music section. So me and Chris are huge music nerds. Huge. I will get a text from Chris late at night of him breaking down the lyrics to a song. And it's like I'm reading a poem. Like it's like philosophy. It's unbelievable. It makes me rethink how I experience songs. So we are big nerds like that. Chris, what is currently in your rotation?
I mean, directly from conversations with you, that new president song is at least listening once a day.
Yeah,
that one's great because I can do it when I'm working out. I can listen when I'm jogging. I can listen in the car. That's in there right now. The new Sleep Token album. Just constantly cycling through that daily. Trying to get through each of the tracks and find deeper love and resonation in each one. So yeah, it's Sleep Token and President right now. And actually this morning, on the way to work, I was jamming Master of Puppets by Metallica.
There you go.
Yeah. And then there's an important show tonight. Primus, Perfect Circle, and Pussifer is tonight. So
I know you've been looking forward to that.
I may or may not be taking work off tomorrow, and I can't believe I'm saying that on a podcast.
Yes.
So very excited about that too. And yeah, we are indeed huge music nerds. And I will share, since Tim is sharing my late night philosophical lyrical interpretation ramblings. The way I was introduced to Tim, I was working with A2C, with Amendment 2 Consultants, and we had picked up a sales contract with Corinne Spinks at that time, who was sort of the event coordinator in Missouri, doing the MoCan BizCon. And we were picked up this contract to assist them with some sales. And Tim was with Paradowski at the time, and I was tasked with contacting Tim and trying to get Paradowski to purchase a sponsorship. We knew that Tim was interested in cannabis and trying to push the company in that direction. John Payne had told me, yeah, I know Tim Pickett, he's a nice guy, I know you're going to like him, et cetera, et cetera. And as soon as the call came on, much like how Tim is sitting right now, he was completely encased with amazing music posters, some of which I had never seen before. And I was certainly seeing some Tool posters, and everyone at camp and everyone who interacts with me knows that I am obsessed with this band Tool. And so I'm seeing him sit there with all of this stuff around him, and I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to concentrate on making sales when all I want to do is ask him, like, what shows are you going to? Where did you acquire these posters? And a 30-minute call, I think it went almost like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it certainly devolved into like, oh, you had a record label. Oh, you interviewed Marilyn Manson when you were 17. Like, I got it. Let's talk about that. So I knew, like, oh no, like this is trouble. I just gotta like pick this guy's brain. And so we have been very very nerdy in music since then. That's for sure. Brandon, what about, I'm going to throw it on you. What are you listening to lately?
There's a TikTok singer that my son got me introduced to a couple years ago because of songs like Dirt Man and things like that.
Okay.
This dude's name is Carter Vale, and his actual music, like the real music, is actually really good. And he just dropped a new song called Stunner, and it's the most like mind encapsulating, like catchy tune that I've heard in years.
Really?
And so it's very pop. Like I'm a punk rock guy, but I have this huge soft spot for especially like 80s style or early 90s like pop rock combinations, where it all comes from Billy Idol. Billy Idol, Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, like that like 80s hard synth. I'm a sucker for 80s and hard synth. And so there's been this like rebirth of like poppy new wave over the last 5 to 10 years, and this song is like the perfect version of that in my mind.
I love it.
Nice. And that's so cool too, because your kids, you're going to get that music through them. And because you had mentioned, the TikTok piece, and that's one thing I miss about teaching, man. My wife and I don't have children. We've both been teachers, as you know now. And when you're around kids, when I was teaching, you hear all this new stuff, this new music, and along with like slang that you can't understand, skibbity and riz and all of that stuff. But while you're constantly trying to understand the definition of these words through context clues, you're also getting like really cool music like you describe. And that's something I certainly miss about teaching, and I wish I was connected to. That's really cool, man.
When you start off with kids, you are kind of feeding them what you like. So my kids grew up on, I Seven Dust and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Nirvana and Foo Fighters. So I try to get them involved in some of the cool foundational rock stuff that I loved. Good rap. There you go. Yeah.
Can you see that?
What is that, Mr.?
It's Mr. LeGrand
Oh,
and
the Metallica.
Homework and Homework for All, and you've got the cover of Injustice for All. And so, like, yes, I had to interrupt him. Sorry.
Right on key. That's perfect.
A friend of mine, shout out to Eddie Adams with Axiom Engraving. He made this for me, and I knew that none of my young students would understand the reference or even know who Metallica was.
Yeah.
But I kept the cup because I wasn't just teaching ELA, gentlemen. I was also teaching rock and roll.
Damn
and
right.
so I kept the cup as a centerpiece so I could teach kids about Metallica. No joke.
I love it. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. My point was like, I kind of influenced them a little bit when they were kids, and now they've developed their own taste and style. And now I'm hearing what they're into. So I get to get a little bit of that side too. I know Brandon, you do the same. I mean, there's a lot of cannabis dads out there that in the same position. So, and we talk about that a lot too. Like what are our kids listening to?
Yeah.
And it does bleed into what we listen to.
I was just gonna say, you get really lucky sometimes if you're Tim, you were talking the other day about you guys going and seeing
Empire of the Sun.
And that band is mind blowing to me. But you get really lucky whenever you raise kids with good musical taste. My son grew up kind of punk rock, Green Day, Blink-182. He got really, really into screamo and emo, Hawthorne Heights and stuff for a while. I don't know that anybody other than me would consider that quality, but we can fight later. My daughter, her first like true love band, was Post Malone, and then her second true love band was Bikini Kill, and then for a while she's been back on the Post Malone thing, and that Post Malone got her into country, and for several years she didn't like country. Now she likes country and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see them evolve and what their tastes become and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We saw Wiz Khalifa, me and my 15-year-old, not the 8-year-old. That would be probably not great. But me and my son went and saw Wiz Khalifa, and he knew every word to every Wiz song. Chevy Woods was there, but his favorite act of the night, I think, was Fed the God. It's like a 19, 20-something-year-old kid from Pittsburgh. He's, one of the newest guys on Taylor Gang. And my son was like, this is awesome. I was like, that's pretty good. But like something about it connected with him because of that age group. And now talking about age group, I want to leave you guys with something. I'm sure you're aware of it, but you brought up the Metallica cup, and it shifted my focus. One of my favorite bassists of all time is Jason Newsted. And so I don't know, I'm sure you're aware, but because you guys like funky, weird music like Tool and stuff like that, EchoBrain.
Very familiar with EchoBrain. I was wondering if you were going to bring that up when you said Newstead.
That's his band after Metallica, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why he left Metallica. I mean, essentially, James Hetfield was like, side project, you can't do that. Which now, thinking back to that, just seems insane when you think of bands that have side projects. So, nice one, James. But yeah, definitely oddball kind of music. You wouldn't expect Newstead to do it, and that's probably a huge reason why he did it. And the EchoBrain guys were pretty young and musical geniuses from what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the lineup, the original lineup on that was Newstead and Chris Sciani, Dylan Donkin, and Brian Sagafrena. And all of those guys have gone on to be in multiple different bands and do multiple different things since then. But EchoBrain, whenever it came out in 2000, you think of Newstead going from what at the time was probably the biggest metal band in American history. Realistically, especially when at 2000 they were already having like a 20 something year deep run, um, and to go from the biggest band fighting against Napster, and really hating on the digital music age, to switching over and forming EchoBrain, and they really embraced, like they started putting stuff out on MP3, and their stuff was out in digital marketplaces and stuff like that. It was just such a wildly, like, it really to me was like, this dude is just like, oh fuck you to these guys completely, like
100%. And yeah, and I don't know, as a young person, Newstead always resonated a lot with me. I always felt like, yeah, he was, and the other guys in Metallica hazed him super hard. And even as like a 13-year-old fan, seeing them live for the first time, I could pick up on that. And to me, I love Metallica so much, but I was like, I had almost more respect for Newstead because he came into that band and replaced Cliff Burton, who's one of the greatest metal bass players of all time. And Cliff is responsible for a lot of the melody that Metallica incorporated into their music. But for Newstead to come in, take that role, take it on, be hazed by his band, and also be the guy who would really like gutturally scream in the microphone, I was like, that's my dude right there, Jason Newstead. So yeah.
my whole thing with that time frame was, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, like Lars, the idea of the most famous band in the world being like, we need more money, is like the least punk rock thing I've ever heard. and so like I as soon as Newstead left, like I was like, okay, yeah, like this, I'm obviously team this guy.
Yeah.
And so, love Metallica and stuff, but Lars has always been like the thing that like triggered me to be like, maybe I don't listen to Saint Anger, and we just stick with, everything before. Like...
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot to be critical of Lars, even outside of his drumming, which there's a lot to be critical of there. So.
As someone who loves music and is absolutely terrible at playing any instrument, I will never criticize anybody's ability to play an instrument as long as they're better than me. I'm like, man, you're awesome. Just, fucking hammer it.
You wouldn't make your snare drum sound like a trash can like in Saint Anger, I'm sure.
Not on purpose, but it does sound like that.
Yeah.
They're like, is Oscar the Grouch out there? And it's like, no, it's somebody from camp. It's a Cookie Monster.
Oh my gosh. Well, Chris,
bringing it back.
I know you gotta run here. Very important person. But thank you so much for joining us. Great conversation. Learned a lot about you, how you got here, a ton about camp. And then we got to vibe on some music stuff, which I've been looking forward to all week. So thank you so much, brother. And yeah, we'll be talking soon. And I cannot wait to see what the rest of 2025 holds for camp.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for saying that, Tim. And Tim and Brandon both, again, massive respect for both of you guys. It was absolutely lovely chatting with you. Hopefully we can do it, sometime for dinner or whatever outside of this. But thanks for thinking of me. Thanks for thinking of Camp Cannabis. We are a small, scrappy, but mighty team. And, we're looking to enhance the lives of Missourians for years to come. So thank you so much for having me. I hope you guys have a great day. Signing out.
See you, buddy.
Let's go, Camp.